Hey guys, it's Max Convexity here. I wanted to give you guys a real quick midday update on the JEPY and the QQQY. Of course, I'm obsessed with looking at their option activity and explaining how it works, so let's look at the charts first. This is a chart of the NDX, but this is what we chart to follow the QQY because QQY sells options on this index, the NASDAQ. All right, I had a request to break out my profit boxes into intrinsic and extrinsic value. I spoke about intrinsic a little bit this morning, but I'm afraid my explanation was not that clear. So let me try it again. All right, here's how this option trade works. At the end of the night yesterday, right before 3 o'clock at 2:45, the market's trading at 15,961. It's right before 3 and Jay and the boys are trying to figure out which put to sell. And they have different metrics they look at and stuff, but it's usually one that's slightly in the money. In the money means from the sense of a bull, from the sense of somebody that's bullish when they talk about in the money, out of the money. So if the market's right here at 15,960, anything above that would be in the money. So Jay and the guys wrote the 16,000 strike call. So that's why I put the top line of the profit box right at 16,000, because that represents max profit. If you land on the top line or anywhere above it, you make max profit, which was for today 720,000 in the QQYs. All right, so let's look back at this. So that the amount between where the market was at the time they wrote the option, which is 15,961, and the strike price, which is 16,000, that is the amount of the intrinsic value. The extrinsic value is also called time premium. And we're trying to capture both of them, but the extrinsic's the really cool thing to catch because it's like free money. The intrinsic is what the option should be worth if it was trading at par. If it was a totally fair world and options were not marked up like they are. So that's what intrinsic means. Intrinsic and extrinsic together is how options trade in real life, which means they're marked at par, plus and they add a little bit of cushion. That represents the profit for the sellers. So the gold box, I figure gold for extrinsic or profit, the gold box would represent the intrinsic amount. I really don't think it's that important to separate them out, but it's important to know the difference. I just look at how much they capture and just make sure they're capturing enough premium. There are other YouTubers that keep track of it to the penny though, so maybe I need to bring my game up. But I think this box is a good representation of intrinsic versus extrinsic. Somebody else asked a question, I appreciate all the questions. Somebody else asked a question about, I said something about the boxes represent how much premium you collect. And I don't think I was clear about that. But I mean visually, when you look at the size of the box every day, that is also the same amount that the option costs. The distance from top to bottom is how many points the option costs. So if the option cost more and you sold it for more, the box will be taller or thicker. The length of the box represents the length of the option contract. It usually goes for a day. I have this one box here that was double long because for some reason, either I made a mistake but the way it looked to me like they sold options on this day and they sold them for 2 days later. So it was a 2-day long instead of a 1-day long option. It's not important. Most of the time they do it for 1 day. So that's why you have these lengths. This right here was a half a day in the market. That was Friday. That's why that's half as long. So if you guys like the intrinsic and the extrinsic, maybe I can keep doing the boxes like that for a while. I might even start keeping track of it on the spreadsheet. I don't know. Let's look at JEPY real quick. All right, JEPY. We're going for a total of 258,000 today. Maximum profit's 45.60. Break even is 45.47.35. Let's look at it on a graphical basis. We have to look at the SPX because that's the contracts they trade, which is the S&P 500, the granddaddy of all indexes. All right, so on this one, it looks like the market rallied and it's coming back. It's still in the profit box. I forgot to mention the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ was well within its profit box. The SPX is getting towards the bottom of its profit box. Hopefully it'll rally here towards the top line. We still have a little less than 2 hours left, so we shall see. Same thing over here. This is intrinsic, that is extrinsic, because the market was at 15, or the SPX was at 45.50.75 when the market closed, which is around the time they sold the option. So they wrote the option in the money, which would mean above, and that they wrote the 45.65, which is the same one they wrote the day before. I don't have my lines quite right. I need to work on my attention to detail. But that they wrote the same option they did the day before. But here's a good example. You can tell by the size of the box, they got more today. They got more points for it. Let's look over here at the spreadsheet and see if that's right. Yeah, on today's option, they got 12 points. Yesterday's option, they got 11 points. So that accounts for the difference in the box sizes. So you can kind of visually see the premium they're going for every day by kind of estimating the box size. All right, guys, I hope this was clear. Send me a question if it wasn't. I'll be back sometime this evening. We'll report on the final tally, see how we did, and we'll look at the options we sold for tomorrow, and we'll discuss the intrinsic and extrinsic on those as well. Thank you very much. I hope everyone's having a great afternoon. See y'all later.